Would you believe me if I told you that this was a foam dart blaster? Because it totally is. And if you're wondering why, well, stranger things have happened. This is the Adventure Force and Stranger Things collaboration, the Babysitter's Bat Blaster. This bat was featured heavily in Stranger Things. A character named Steve Harrington was the main character who has this, and the babysitter piece is referencing the fact that he often has to look after the main characters. And if you are a blaster enthusiast, you know that Adventure Force could mean a lot of different things. And what I do know about this is that this was crafted by the people at DARTS. Let's talk about this thing, because it's a fairly realistic looking bat. And how does the whole blaster thing, because the thing does fit in up there, how does that all work with this? And can we compare this to the recent Nerf zombie strikeout? Yeah, let's do that. Why not? And we'll also talk about what I like, what I don't like, and anything I possibly would have changed with this thing. Because it's very odd, but cool. I love the gimmicks. Right? You know that about me. I love the gimmicks. Let's talk about the cosmetics of this and how realistic it looks, because there's some really interesting things going on here. This main barrel of the bat is constructed with a rubber overlay. Even the nails look rather realistic on camera, but they are just the same rubber that the barrel of the bat is constructed of. There is some normal plastic here, this part, as well as the handle, but then the end of the bat, this part right here, is the same rubber construction as the top. This isn't a foam construction. When I press on the rubber, there isn't any foam in here. There is a solid, I would say, plastic core that goes all the way down as your plunger tube mechanism and all that kind of stuff. And as I'm looking at this, there's a message. There's a hidden message on this bat. It's Morse code, and you know what? I'm going to look that up and see what that means, and I'll put the information of what it says right there, because yeah, that's gotta be Morse code. It's dot, dashes, and all that kind of stuff. Interesting. I wonder what it means. Now that we both know through the magic of editing, let's take a look at the bat and how this works. The prime on this bat is you pull the grip of it, and you can see that there's this gap right here. And we're almost primed. What you have to do next is push this in, and now we're ready to go. There is this yellow button on the side of the bat that acts as our trigger. It comes with 3 waffle-headed darts, and I think the yellow and red ones, I haven't seen those before, but the blue one is traditional, so I'm just gonna use this one as our guinea pig. And you put the dart into the top of the bat, and you can see that this gets pushed down really far. If I was just swinging this around, people wouldn't necessarily know that there were darts sticking out of this. They would think there was just kind of like a weird top to this bat. And when you're ready, you press that circular button, and then the dart fires. And that's actually a pretty decent pop on that thing. You wouldn't expect that from a bat. I wouldn't have expected that from a bat. But you can see the problem with this. I would say that this is something a little more limited than your traditional Jolt or any of the multiple step single load blasters. But performance, not bad. Use, limited. And here's the thing, like, you couldn't bring this to like an HVZ game and start swinging this around, because there's just not enough padding for it. There's really not. You're gonna end up hurting somebody. I really think the rubber is just used to, like, if it does get swung around, that there is a tiny little bit of cushion, but I'm guessing there's warnings on here not to hit people with this thing. But when you have something bat-shaped, I mean, it's usually what ends up happening. But the weight of it, the weight and the size of this is really decent. I like the feel of this, and it really sells the gimmick that you have a bat with nails to fight off crazy creatures from the upside down. Comparing that to this, the Nerf zombie strikeout, you can see just how different these two products are. This does have foam, but it's mostly plastic. This is mostly rubber with very little plastic. The Nerf one is easier to use, and I think they can get away with that because this is so over-exaggerated, where this is looking to be more of a, not movie prop, but like a TV show prop. Let's take a look a little bit at the nails here, because this is another really interesting feature of this. It didn't need to be there, but it's, again, one of those things to kind of show that this was really thoughtfully done in terms of tying it into Stranger Things. I believe the nailed bat was an actual weapon that they used to fight off some of the Demigorgons. The reason I don't really remember is because it's been so long since the last season of Stranger Things. I really have to hand it to any company doing a crossover with Stranger Things, because it's gotta be a very frustrating and difficult scenario. Stranger Things notoriously takes forever to produce. The kids that started the show are going to be like adults with children by the time that this thing ends. We've seen them with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, we've seen it with Lego, we've seen it with a whole bunch of stuff, And now we've seen it in blaster form. There's another blaster here. It's like the wrist rocket, the Lucas wrist rocket, the slingshot thing. See, this blaster is already a little bit old, and I picked it up on store shelves before it went away. And when this was released, brand new, there wasn't even a new season of Stranger Things to tie this to, and that's going to be really important for these crossover style products. Without tapping into larger marketing campaigns, you are really just going on the name alone. Years go by, I'm guessing it's very difficult to market something like this and be like, hey, we've got something from Stranger Things, and then people go, oh, is there like a new season or something like that? I think we saw this a little bit with Nerf and the Halo Infinite license. The game got delayed at the 11th hour, and it kind of left Nerf holding the bag a little bit. I'm guessing Stranger Things products are in a similar vein. These have to go through lots of approval processes, and Netflix probably has to sign off on it. The production company for Stranger Things has to sign off on it. The people whose likenesses that they use for the box probably have to sign. Like, there's a lot of sign-offs. I'm guessing by the time that all happens, and the product development and the manufacturing and the shipping and all that kind of stuff, like, it's impossible to time. Especially when they delay Stranger Things, when it gets renewed and it doesn't get renewed, and people think it's canceled, like all this kind of crazy stuff. But what are my overall thoughts on this? Because it's kind of a jumble right now. On one hand, I absolutely love the gimmick. I love gimmicky blasters, hands down. I will die on that hill. Gimmicky blasters are the best kinds of blasters. This fits that mold rather well. There's a couple things that hold it back from being in like an absolute all-time greatest kind of thing. And one of that is just the complicated mechanisms for firing it. I think there needs to be some level of ease for it, because if we're talking gimmicky blasters as my very favorite, the overly complicated, like limited capacity blaster are probably some of my least favorite. And, you know, this kind of falls in that range. It's a very push and pull that direction. While I give credit to the people at Dart Zone and Adventure Force for attempting a Stranger Things crossover, I can also feel for them when I'm guessing the plans that they had to tie this to like a season of Stranger Things didn't necessarily pan out. Overall, if you can find this blaster, I think it's a really great, interesting piece of foam dart blaster history. This is kind of history in the making, right? Don't think we're gonna see something like this again. Like the weight of it, just how the rubber is constructed and not really covering the solid plastic core in there. Well, we might see a similar mechanism because it's really well hidden. I mean, if you look at this from a distance, it does look like a small bat, like one from, like this is larger than one of those souvenir bats that you get like at a MLB stadium, but like smaller than your traditional baseball bat. Has a nice heft to it, and the blasting function, as we saw, works really good. While you're not going to be swinging one of these around at an HVZ game, you can still fire darts from it and it would be pretty cool. I mean, ultimately this retailed for about $20 US. I got this for $9 when it was on clearance. So I think at that price it was great. $20 might have been a little too expensive for my taste, but if you can still find this thing for a good, decent deal, definitely add it to your collection if you're a collector. But if you are somebody who's a competitor, somebody who's looking for performance blasters, don't add this one because there's a lot better options out there for you. What you see is what you get. Like, you're not getting like a secret performance blaster with this thing. It's a gimmicky blaster, and for that, I love it. And I love it even more so because I got a good deal on it. And if you like blasters, if you like things like Nerf, Dart Zone, Adventure Force, X-Shot, there's probably a bunch of other stuff. Action figures, if you like G.I. Joes, Turtles, stuff like that. Pop culture-y things, Stranger Things. You're also going to want to follow along too. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time, and I got some Demigorgons to fight.